If you're one of the 70 million Americans receiving Social Security benefits, what I'm about to tell you is going to directly impact your bank account starting very soon. The Social Security Administration just announced the official cost of living adjustment for 2025, and the numbers are finally here. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've been waiting months for this announcement, checking your mailbox, refreshing websites, wondering how much more you'll actually be getting each month. And here's the thing that nobody's really talking about. This year's increase might surprise you, but not necessarily in the way you expect. Because while yes, you are getting a raise, the real story is what's happening behind the scenes with Medicare premiums, inflation, and how much of this increase you'll actually get to keep in your pocket. The timing of this announcement couldn't be more critical either, because we're heading into the final quarter of the year, and understanding these changes right now means you can actually plan ahead for 2025 instead of being caught off guard when January rolls around. So if you want to know your exact new payment amount, what's changing with Medicare, and the 3 things you need to do before the end of this year to maximize your benefits, you absolutely need to stay with me through this entire video. Because what I'm about to break down could mean the difference between just getting by and actually having some breathing room in your budget next year. Before we dive into those exact numbers, do me a quick favor. If you rely on Social Security or know someone who does, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. So here's the headline number that everyone's been waiting for. The Social Security Cost of Living Adjustment, also called COLA, for 2025 is 2.5%. Now, let me put that into real dollars for you because percentages don't pay the bills. If you're currently receiving the average retirement benefit of around $1,927 per month, this 2.5% increase means you're looking at an additional $48 per month. That works out to roughly $576 more per year going into your account. For those of you receiving the maximum benefit, which is currently around $4,900 monthly, you're looking at about $122 more each month. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is something that catches so many people off guard every single year. That 2.5% sounds solid on paper, especially when you compare it to some of the lower adjustments we've seen in previous years. But we need to talk about what's really happening with your purchasing power. Remember back in 2023 when we got that massive 8.7% increase? Everyone was celebrating because it was one of the largest adjustments in 4 decades. Then in 2024, we saw it drop down to 3.2%. Now we're at 2.5% for 2025. So what does this trend actually tell us? It means that inflation, at least according to the government's calculations, is cooling off. The Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which is the specific index they use to calculate Social Security COLA, showed that price increases have been moderating. But here's the catch that you absolutely need to understand. The inflation that seniors actually experience is often different from what these official numbers show. Think about it. What are the biggest expenses in your life right now? For most Social Security recipients, we're talking about healthcare, prescription medications, housing costs, and groceries. And guess what? Those categories have been rising faster than the overall inflation rate that determines your COLA adjustment. This is where things get really important, so pay close attention. Your 2.5% increase isn't just about Social Security. We also need to talk about what's happening with Medicare Part B premiums because this is where a chunk of your raise might disappear before you even see it. The Medicare Part B standard premium for 2025 is going up to approximately $185 per month. That's an increase of about $10.50 from the current year. Now, for most beneficiaries, this premium gets automatically deducted from your Social Security payment. So when we talk about your net increase, your actual take-home boost, we need to subtract that Medicare premium hike from your COLA adjustment. Let's do the math together. If you're getting that average $48 monthly increase but your Medicare premium went up by about $10.50, your actual net gain is closer to $37.50 per month. That's still something, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near the full 2.5% you might have been expecting. And we're not done yet because there's another piece to this puzzle. Your Medicare Part D prescription drug coverage premium might also be going up, depending on your plan. These premiums vary wildly based on which plan you chose and where you live, but the average is hovering around $35 to $55 per month for 2025. If you're seeing an increase there too, that's another bite out of your Social Security raise. This is exactly why so many seniors feel like they're running on a treadmill. You get a raise on paper, but between Medicare premiums, rising prescription costs, higher property taxes, and increasing grocery bills, it feels like you're actually falling behind. And honestly, for many people, that feeling is backed up by the reality of their bank statements. Now let's talk about when you're actually going to see this money, because timing matters, especially if you're trying to budget for the holidays and the new year. Your first payment with the new COLA adjustment will arrive in January 2025. The exact date depends on your birthday, as always. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th of the month, your payment comes on the second Wednesday of January. Born between the 11th and 20th, you get paid on the third Wednesday. And if your birthday falls between the 21st and the end of the month, you'll receive your payment on the fourth Wednesday. The only exception is for people who started receiving benefits before May 1997 or those receiving both Social Security and SSI. Those folks get their payments on the 3rd of the month, or the first business day before the 3rd if it falls on a weekend or holiday. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough, but it's crucial for your financial planning. The way COLA is calculated has been controversial for years now, and understanding this controversy helps you make better decisions about your retirement planning. The Social Security Administration uses something called the CPIW, which tracks spending patterns for urban wage earners and clerical workers. But here's the obvious problem with that. Most Social Security beneficiaries aren't working anymore, and their spending patterns look completely different from younger workers. There's actually been a push in Congress for years to switch to something called the CPIE, which specifically tracks spending for people 62 and older. Studies show that if we used the CPIE instead, retirees would typically see higher COLA adjustments because senior spending is weighted more heavily toward those fast-rising categories I mentioned earlier, especially healthcare. But so far, this change hasn't happened, and it doesn't look like it's coming anytime soon. So what does all this mean for you practically speaking? First off, you need to get out ahead of this instead of just waiting for January to roll around. Look at your current budget right now. Write down your actual monthly expenses, not what you think they should be, but what you're really spending. Then calculate what your new Social Security payment will be by taking your current benefit and multiplying it by 1.025. That gives you your new gross payment before Medicare deductions. Now subtract your new Medicare Part B premium and any other automatic deductions. That final number is your real monthly increase, and you need to know whether that's actually going to cover the increases you're seeing in your own expenses. This isn't about being pessimistic. It's about being prepared. Here's another critical action item for you. If you haven't already done this, review your Medicare coverage during the open enrollment period, which runs until December 7th. With Medicare premiums going up and your COLA being what it is, this is the perfect time to make sure you're not overpaying for coverage you don't need or, just as importantly, that you're not undercovered in areas where you might get hit with huge out-of-pocket costs. Sometimes switching your Part D prescription plan or your Medicare Advantage plan can save you hundreds of dollars per year, which effectively gives you a bigger raise than what Social Security is providing. And one more thing while we're talking about maximizing your benefits. If you're working while receiving Social Security and you're under your full retirement age, make sure you understand the earnings limit for 2025. The limit is going up slightly, and if you earn more than that threshold, Social Security will temporarily withhold some of your benefits. Knowing this number helps you plan your work schedule if you have any control over it. Let me address something I know some of you are worried about because I see these questions constantly in the comments. Will Social Security run out? Is this the last COLA we're going to get? Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The Social Security Trust Fund is facing long-term financing challenges, and without congressional action, the trust fund reserves are projected to be depleted sometime in the next decade or so. But here's what that actually means. Even if the trust fund runs out, Social Security doesn't disappear. Payroll taxes would still be coming in, and those taxes would cover approximately 77 to 80% of scheduled benefits. That's not ideal obviously, but it's also not the apocalypse scenario some people imagine. Congress has always stepped in before to shore up Social Security, and there's enormous political pressure to do it again because this program affects virtually every American family. Will benefits be exactly what they are now? That's uncertain. But the program isn't vanishing overnight. The bottom line is this. Your Social Security payment is going up by 2.5% in January 2025. For most people, that's somewhere between $30 and $50 in actual net increase after Medicare premiums are deducted. It's not a game changer, but it's not nothing either. What matters most is what you do with this information right now. Don't wait until January to figure out your new budget. Don't ignore your Medicare open enrollment. And definitely don't assume that this increase means you can breathe easy without looking at where your money is actually going each month. The seniors who handle these annual adjustments best are the ones who treat it like any other part of their financial planning, staying informed, being proactive, and adjusting their strategies as needed.